My name is Ariani Foster, and I decided to do my topic on race relations. The question that I decided to do for my senior project was, what is the most effective way to acknowledge and prevent racism? And honestly, I didn't have an answer for that. So what I wanted to do was get perspectives from people from different backgrounds to better understand how I feel about the topic. What I first decided to do was ask people, how does racism affect them? Like, what is it like walking through life every day?
Interesting, the other day I was driving and it was like on 51st, and then I just see like this like coffee shop on 51st Street. It's called Sputnik. And I went to look at the website. It's all white people. And it's all like bringing you democratic coffee or something like that. And I was just all like, well, why would I need a Sputnik? I just feel like it's super disrespectful. You know what I mean? I think it's super disrespectful in the way like, you don't know anything about our neighborhood. Like, who are you? Like, why are you here? Like, I lost students in that corner that you build your fucking like building there. You know what I'm saying? Like, my uncle died over here on this block around the corner. Like, what you know about that?
Somebody being a man is a privilege, right? So if you think about when you're born into the world, you automatically are deemed a privilege. So say if you're born into the world and you're white, that's one step forward. You got a life that you didn't even have to earn. Say you're born into a family that got a lot of money. That's another step forward in life that you got that you don't have to earn. You able-bodied, another step forward. You may be Christian faith, another step forward. Because these are all things that give you privilege in America. You understand what I'm saying? I say so when you born, this is the starting point, but you starting 10 steps ahead of the starting point because you already got them privileges right off the bat.
Their exposure to these opportunities is different than mine, simply because they're exposed to it. It comes to them. I have to reach for it. It's handed to them. I have to crawl for it.
They turn around and say, why ain't you where I'm at? See, I worked hard to get here. How you work hard? You started 10 steps ahead of me and you had wind pushing you forward every time.
We go and we sit in the courtroom and you'll watch what happens. The people with power, generally, 90% of the time are white people. The people with the problem, 90% of the time are people of color. Well, that's a systemic system that is already tilted not to help the person who's really struggling.
You see how that systemic racism informs like internalized racism. Because if you live in a society where you're not seeing yourself in a positive light, then you don't feel good about yourself. I think about the students I work with, they don't even learn history in the school. So we teach history, but you know what they learn about history? Slavery and Martin Luther King. Basically all bad stuff. Like slavery, it was bad, Martin Luther King, because it was bad. So if all this is what you know about yourself, you're like, damn. And like, that's systemic racism, and you internalize it, right? That, man, I ain't shit. And then when I see you, you ain't shit. Because you look like me. And neither one of us shit.
Well, I have this very unique privilege of living in an African American community. So I've seen racism up front often. I mean, I drive down the road, I get stopped by the police, and the police don't stop me because they think I'm doing something wrong necessarily. They stop me because they think I'm lost, and they say, what in the world are you doing in this neighborhood? Get the heck out of it. Or if they see me and they stop me because they think I'm here buying drugs. They don't understand. I've watched many of my African American friends be treated unjustly by white people.
That my own people are getting killed by policemen and getting away with it. Well, the policemen are getting away with it without any actual consequences. It hurts.
So when we don't talk about things and we don't confess and we don't rid ourselves of the problem and admit we have a problem, we never get past it. We just sweep it under the carpet. And so the innate feelings of prejudice or inferiority stay with a person.
You know, black folks not considered human beings. So if you don't see somebody as a human being, you don't see them as like you and as equal as you. And so therefore you don't think they deserve the same that you get. You see what I'm saying? So when they get murdered, it's kind of like, you know, because you're not already viewed as a human being anyway.
Our people are feeling defeated, or they feel like they can't do anything about it, is what really hurts, because then they start to withdraw and then they start to take back that support because they see that nothing's happening, or they see that no actual policies are being made, that no changes are being made, or that these policemen are still getting away with it. And so then they start to withdraw back, and that hurts.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car. I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
Well, her fear isn't real. It's based on emotion, and it's not based on anything factual that she'd be able to articulate. It's just out of control behavior. I'll tell you what she faces danger, where she faces danger. It's being on the street in any American ghetto where the black-on-black crime is a bigger threat and a bigger problem in the black community than the police use of force.
But the other thing about this is that, of course, black-on-black crime, and when it's reported, it only feeds into white stereotypes.
And it make it seem like we are just born like that, but they don't look at like conditions. Like when you don't have healthy access to food, you don't get clothes in schools, folks don't have jobs, folks don't have opportunities, folks are really down on hope, right? So stuff springs from that. Like stats have showed that like 98% of white people that die are murdered are usually murdered by white people, right? So the same thing for black people. It's like 98% of people. It's just that black-on-black violence is just like a byproduct of when you actually attack and negate and take resources from communities.
March, protest, make noise. And it may seem like, oh, that's redundant. That's been done already. It's been done already because it works. Look at our support system. There's power in numbers. Talk about it. It forces them to get uncomfortable.
So when I'm talking to you about like working on your inner self, working on the community that's around you, a lot of times I don't think that people think that that's a way to combat something. I feel like a lot of times people think that, like marching and protesting and putting a campaign together is the only way of making a difference. We play this music called Son Jarocho, which this music is about, it's over 300 years old. A lot of what I do is teaching the music, but also using the music as a tool to teach community, right? To teach about the importance of building. And I feel like that is a very that's a really way to fight back against racism.
I actually think the number one way to combat racism, so black folks, we have to have our space that we can find love for each other, respect each other, and appreciate each other, understand the truth and all that. But white folks gotta develop their own spaces so they can work through their shit around how they think about things, because that whole reality of whiteness is not a reality. You can look at society as a body, and people that exist within it are just cells, right? And so the cells operate to make the body do what it do, right? So when there's a disease going on, the cells, they attack the disease and try to do something about it. When you got a scar, the cells go to it, right? The thing is, the cells have to start operating differently. Right now we got a disease and the cells are not doing anything about it. The cells are just perpetuating it, and the cells are getting sicker in themselves.
Racism is a social construct. It's something that was taught to people. It's not genetic. It's nothing like that. Our society teaches to see groups of people and think other groups of people are better than others. It's something that can also be unlearned as well, right? I feel like the way you go about unlearning that and decolonizing that has a lot to do with your own personal process of you looking at yourself and what is it that you want to become, and what is it that you're proud of.
We need to learn how to start doing for self. We need to learn how to start to build our own stuff and making our own corporations and businesses and supporting each other in that way.
People got to start thinking about shit different, but you can't think about it unless you teach people different, unless you educate people. Because once you know something differently, that's it, you know it. I created an institution that teaches black children about themselves because the school system couldn't do it. What I did is created not a separate, but a educational institution that develop black children in the way that I see they need to be developed, that I know the current school system just can't do.
So we work with a lot of like young children. We have a program called Son Chiquitos, which is all about kids feeling okay to like be who they are and embracing their identity and their cultures. It's like a safe way to pull people in and to talk about all these bigger concepts. Because I don't think people in my community need anymore someone telling them like what they need to do.
Yes, I think we can. I'm not a pessimist, I'm an optimist. And I think we can overcome it. We don't give up. I see goodness in people's hearts. I'm always of the persuasion that if we can sit down and we can do what Kenjufu says, we admit we have differences, we begin to understand the differences, but then we work to appreciate one another's differences.
Within the current context of how this country exists, no. I just think the cells got to start operating different.
Oh yeah. I just think that we could do anything we want to do.
No, can't overcome racism.
After hearing from our subjects what they experienced with racism, what we face as a whole, and what they think about the most effective way to diminish racism, I've come to terms of my own perspective. And learning from what I heard from my interview subjects, I've acknowledged the fact that in order for, racism to diminish, we need to be educated. We need to learn more about each other, about ourselves. And that's what needs to happen. We need to start having new conversations. Do I believe that we can overcome racism? Honestly, I don't.